The Biden-era concerns over China's state-led economic practices remain unresolved and continue to be a sticking point in the negotiations. The 90-day pause, in fact, had brought temporary relief to markets, but with U.S. officials now signaling that China has not followed through, the future of the agreement appears to be uncertain. If the situation escalates, the global economy could once again face ripple effects from the trade instability between the world's two largest economies. And our correspondent Susan Teherani has been tracking those developments very closely. She sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
President Trump says that it was his tariffs that brought China to the brink of economic collapse just 2 weeks ago, cutting them off from the U.S. market, triggering factory shutdowns and even unrest. He claims that the situation became so dire that he decided to step in, not for America's sake, but to prevent China from imploding. Trump made a fast deal with China to stabilize their economy and restore order. And it did work briefly. But now he's accusing China of completely violating that agreement. He calls it a betrayal and says that his goodwill was taken for granted. Now it's yet to be seen whether or not another so-called trade war will erupt between these two countries. Susan Teherani reporting from New York for WION World This World.
And we're staying on with these developments coming in from the United States. A week after the U.S. Health Department released its first Make America Healthy Again report, many have reportedly found discrepancies in the citations. According to several media outlets, many sources cited in the flagship report on making children healthy again allegedly do not exist. Within hours, more reports surfaced on alleged citation errors, with more references to what are being called non-existent research papers. A few AI experts reportedly believe some citations may have been generated using artificial intelligence, leading to invented references that seem to not exist. The White House responded to a question on the matter, in fact, downplaying the issue and saying the report just had a few formatting errors in its citations. And shortly after, the administration uploaded an updated copy of that report.
Yes, we have complete confidence in Secretary Kennedy and his team at HHS. I understand there were some formatting issues with the MAHA report that are being addressed, and the report will be updated, but it does not negate the substance of the report, which, as you know, is one of the most transformative health reports that has ever been released by the federal government and is backed on good science that has never been recognized by the federal government.
And the report was developed in little over 3 months. It primarily contains mainstream ideas on children's declining health in America. According to critics, the report also has controversial elements to it, like raising doubts about the current childhood vaccine schedule.
At its core, this report is a call to action for common sense. We've relied too much on conflicted research, ignored common sense, or what some would call mother's intuition.
The report follows an executive order signed by Trump in February that included a call to action on a panel to release this report within 100 days. Harvard has got some legal relief in its battle with U.S. President Donald Trump on barring international students from enrolling in the university. A federal judge issued a preliminary injunction preventing the Trump administration's order on Harvard, ensuring the university can continue admitting international students while its legal challenge proceeds. This extension coming as thousands of Harvard students celebrated their graduation. Students in Crimson Fringe grounds cheered as speakers asserted their commitment to maintain a diverse and international student body in the university. Meanwhile, Chinese students in America are facing uncertainty over their future after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that the U.S. will start revoking the visas of some Chinese students, including those studying in critical fields and those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party. China has strongly objected to the measure and lodged a formal protest with the US. Beijing called it a politically motivated and discriminatory move. In fact, Donald Trump has made Harvard the central target of his campaign against elite US universities, with threats to freeze funds over what he calls the university's liberal bias and anti-Semitism. And political analyst and radio show host Garland Nixon is now with us on the broadcast for more on this. Let's just first talk about the earlier controversy that we spoke about regarding the citations being used in that report. What is your assessment of what's happening here and what's been reported so far?
My understanding is, I've been looking into it, there was approximately 500 citations, and somewhere between 7 and 10 of them were, there were problems with them. Some of them were dead links. One of them particularly, there was a person who was cited as the author of a study who said, I didn't do that study. So there were some holes in it. I think the important thing to understand about this particular study, number one, probably one of the most I would say non-controversial thing, something that was supported across ideological lines, was that it was the imperative to look into things such as some of the foodstuffs here, the dyes that are used in the GMO foods. There are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that were concerned about that. So I think Americans did want a deep dive into the issues of health in the United States. So that is a popular issue, to be quite frank, all across the ideological line. It seems that there was a level of unprofessionalism here. I think what we need to take from this is that there will be policies that come forth as a result of this. This is a report that's supposed to generate policies that come from the things found in this report. So I think it's very important to look at these policies and to see if any of them were derived from some of the errors that were made. And once we start seeing the policies that come forward from this report, I think we're going to have to scrutinize them, simply because there was a level of unprofessionalism here in this particular report, even though, as I said, for those who aren't in America, need to understand this is very popular in America. A lot of the things that are allowed in the foods in America aren't allowed in other countries around the world. So we need to make sure that the results of this report, the outcomes, are scrutinized very closely also.
All right, I also want to get in your comments on the other controversy that we just spoke about. What Marco Rubio has said specifically about how the US will start revoking the visas of some Chinese students. What do you make of that, given that there's already a lot of uncertainty surrounding what lies ahead, especially, for example, with the social media vetting?
A couple of things. Number one, what we're looking at with these colleges are ideological battles and foreign policy. This in reality has nothing to do with students presenting any kind of a danger to these colleges. This is an ideological battle. The United States sees other countries such as China, and I would argue eventually India, countries who are really technologically advancing. The U.S. sees them as a threat. And unfortunately, rather than work on improving the ability of the United States to put out good STEM candidates, the Trump administration has decided to try to basically yank the rug out of students from under students of other countries who are working to improve themselves. So this is an ideological battle. This is a foreign policy battle. It is disguised as, you know, some kind of a safety or thing or something to improve national security, but that's not what it really is. And it's going to hurt these colleges, because these colleges need students from other countries to help keep the college strong and to help keep a diverse understanding in these colleges, and to help their students to learn to interact with people from other nations. Because in fact, if they get into these various STEM job options and job opportunities, they will certainly have to interact with students from, you know, China, India, Russia, wherever. So I think it's a grave error and a mistake, and it's going to harm the students in the long run.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us with those perspectives.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, let's also get to these reactions. Students from around the world, in fact, are reacting to the uncertainty surrounding the halt on visas for international students and what's happening. And this is what they have to say.
It has reached out to us. They've expressed their support for international students. They've told us that they will stand with international students and deploy their resources in this fight, which I deeply appreciate.
I feel that students probably wouldn't take part in any competition focused on any political faction or field. Students go to the US purely for academic progress, so they shouldn't have to deal with this kind of inconvenience.
Yes, so the uncertainty of the situation is very hard for me. I don't know if I can go to Harvard, and so being unsure is very difficult for me.
I think that Trump's attacks on higher education stop, because if we show enough resistance, then he is going to fold. That's how Trump works. But if we start to give in, even just a little, fire a few controversial professors or stop admitting a certain type of students, then he's going to continue.
Switching focus now to South Korea, where election fever has gripped the country. Over 10 million people, in fact, have already cast their ballots in an early voting system. And ahead of the June 3rd snap elections, eligible voters in South Korea lined up in record numbers to exercise their franchise to choose a president in an early election. The two-day early voting window has ended, and after this, final in-person voting will be next Tuesday. And for many in the country, a growing call for change amid the deepening political crisis is the key reason for spending hours in long lines, ensuring they cast a vote for better political climate.
The reason why I voted early, I did it because I want the era to change. Also, there was the rebellion, martial law declaration. Last time I voted hoping something like that would not happen again.
I thought there was still time until the main vote. The second reason is that there have been many reports of fraud during the early voting process. I believe that my vote will have a significant impact on South Korea, so I am waiting to vote in the main election with the hope that my vote will not be wasted carelessly.
This time, to be honest, at first, I wasn't planning to vote. Nothing really satisfied me, whether it was the ruling party or the opposition party. But on second thought, I could not waste my special right to vote.
The snap election in South Korea was triggered by a brief martial law crisis that snowballed into former President Yoon Suk-yeol getting impeached. In December 2024, Yoon Suk-yeol had ordered a short-lived martial law in the country. And for months later, South Korea remained divided over the ousted president's decision, with thousands protesting his impeachment. Many also rallied in Yoon's support. In the snap presidential election, the battle is between the conservative candidate Kim Moon-soo and the liberal candidate Lee Jae-myung. Both are fighting on deeply polarized platforms, especially on energy and relations with North Korea and US. While Kim vows a hardline approach on North Korea, the other side wants to restore the hotline between the two sides. On US specifically, Kim wants immediate dialogue, while his liberal counterpart advocates a cautious approach. On to Mexico now, which is all set for a first of its kind judicial election in the country. Amid the divide between the criticism and hope, top candidates vying for the position of Supreme Court Justice have concluded their campaign. And on Thursday, Lenia Beatriz and Yasmin Esquivel held their final election campaign. Both are sitting justices at Mexico's Supreme Court and are now looking to retain their position via a popular vote. The country is buzzing with campaigns, poll promises, as judges and magistrates seek to retain power in the judiciary. More than 5,000 candidates are contesting the first judicial election for 840 federal judge and magistrate positions. But it's not expected to be an easy race, with thousands in Mexico critical of the existing judicial system and looking for change.
Yo creo que lo principal es ver los cambios, ¿no?
I think the main thing is to see the changes. In the past, we've seen people are constantly displeased. If we don't do it, we obviously cannot blame the government. Why? Because the government takes the reins, but we are the ones who choose them. So, if we don't do it, vote. The blame falls on us as citizens.
But many are also critical of this election, worried that politicizing the selection of judges will not curtail corruption issues, and doing away with merit-based appointments sets a dangerous precedent. And away from politics, in a personal gesture, Russia's President Vladimir Putin held a warm welcome for Akie Abe, wife of late ex-President Shinzo Abe, at the Kremlin today. Putin walked in with a large bouquet of pink roses for Shinzo Abe's widow. He also conveyed to Akie Abe how her late husband played a key role in restoring bilateral ties between the two sides. Akie Abe responded with heartfelt remarks of her own.
I saw that he was sincerely striving for the full restoration of the Russian-Japanese cooperation. He was doing a lot for that. We are very grateful to him for his position. We have always respected his work in this area, and we remember his contribution to the development of Russian-Japanese cooperation.
Today, as the main goal of my conversation, I would like to express to you my sincere gratitude for the fact that you have so actively developed a dialogue with my husband and strive to develop relations between our countries. I can say that my husband, even after the beginning of such a difficult situation related to Ukraine, was eager to meet you and had such hope.
And Putin's gesture did not stop with flowers and kind words about the late former Prime Minister of Japan. After the meeting, the Russian leader offered Abe his personal limousine for a ride to the iconic Bolshoi Theatre. The Kremlin said the visit is not an official one, but Putin's gesture is reminiscent of the warm friendship between Japan and Russia during the prime ministership of Shinzo Abe. Putin and Abe had good personal ties. Both held 15 summit meetings in Japan, Russia, and other international venues, reflecting their commitment to resolve key issues in the relations. In a major verdict by a Sri Lanka court, two former ministers in the government of the ousted President Gotabaya Rajapaksa have been sentenced to decades in prison. In fact, a former sports minister and ex-trade minister were found guilty of misappropriating state funds worth $177,000. The Colombo High Court ruled the duo used government money to buy support for Mahinda Rajapaksa's failed 2015 presidential re-election campaign. In fact, Aludgamage has been sentenced to 20 years behind bars, while Fernando received a 25-year term. Both men were also fined approximately $2,000 each, the verdict marking a landmark ruling in Sri Lanka's ongoing struggle against corruption, and makes Aludgamage the most senior official from the Rajapaksa era to be successfully prosecuted to date. The case had lingered in court for 6 years with limited progress till a new government came to power in 2024 and moved to revive anti-corruption efforts. Aludgamage is also under investigation for a separate scandal involving a $6 million payment to a Chinese supplier for fertilizer. The shipment was reportedly never delivered. A quick look now at what else is making headlines around the world in the world of elections and politics. Portugal's political landscape has shifted dramatically. The far-right Chega party has surged to second place in the country's snap election held on 18th May, overturning decades of bipartisan dominance. At the top, the centre-right Democratic Alliance, led by Prime Minister Montenegro, secured 91 seats in the election, short of the 116 needed for a majority. Montenegro was reappointed on Thursday as Portugal's prime minister by the country's president. The party will have to form an alliance or lead a minority government after the country's inconclusive snap election. Hong Kong has freed 4 people in landmark national security case. 4 pro-democracy activists have been freed after over 4 years in jail, who were a part of the 47 Democrats' trial. They were the second group to be released in a month. The group was charged in 2021 for organizing an unofficial 2020 primary election. Prosecutors claim the move was a plot to paralyze the government if elected. 45 people were convicted and given sentences of as long as 10 years, while only 2 were acquitted. The case marks a sweeping crackdown under Beijing's national security law. U.S. Secretary of Defense paid a visit to U.S. troops aboard an American destroyer in Singapore. Pete Hegseth was seen interacting with the troops and even working out with them the military way. Have a look.
You are the ones that hold the line. You spend the best years of your life, your young years of your life in uniform, staying fit, staying ready, putting yourself willingly in harm's way for 330 million people who are a long way away. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 8. 1, 2, 3, 9. 1, 2, 3, 3. 1, 2, down, up, 2, down, up, 3, 2, down, up, down, up.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition for now. We are taking a very short break. Stay with us.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Wow, folks, we all know the story.
As makers announce the release date of The Devil Wears Prada 2, we take a look at all the upcoming remakes, reboots, and sequels. Dive into the world of music with a never-seen-before auction. And find out why baby blue is the color of the year. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia is engaging in yet another deception by failing to hand over its peace settlement proposal ahead of a potential meeting between Moscow and Kiev. Now, Russia claims it has prevented a Ukraine-plotted terror attack in Moscow. Russian investigative committee says that it has opened a criminal case against the suspect. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi warns Pakistan that Operation Sindoor is just an arrow in India's quiver. He also asserts that the war on terror is neither over nor has it come to a halt. The French President Emmanuel Macron says that abandoning war-torn Gaza to its own fate and giving Israel a free pass will kill the West's credibility with the rest of the world. The American President Donald Trump signals renewed trade tensions with China, arguing that Beijing has violated a deal to de-escalate tariffs at a time when both sides appear deadlocked in negotiations. India's economy has grown by about 7.4% in the January to March quarter from a year earlier, driven by the construction and manufacturing sectors. The father of the abortion pill, the French scientist Etienne-Émile Bouillot, has died at the age of 98 at his home in Paris. Indian actor Kamal Haasan refuses to apologize for his controversial Kannada language remark that has now received a lot of backlash from Kannada activists who are threatening to boycott his movie Thug Life. The former American President Joe Biden is addressing the media. Let's listen in to what's being said.
Wear the uniform of the United States of America. The only nation in the world, literally, not figuratively, the only nation in the world founded on an idea. An idea. Every nation was founded on geography, ethnicity, some unifying principle, but not an idea. The idea of America was founded on, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We mean it. That's who we are. That's what makes America the most unique nation in the world, literally, not figuratively. In fact, folks, you know, for generation after generation, the profound idea has been defended by ordinary citizens who stepped up and answered the call. Because of them, American democracy has endured for nearly 250 years. Every generation has to fight to maintain that democracy. Every time, every generation. Because of them, our government is still of the people, by the people and for the people. They are we, and we are still free. And now, we must make sure that sacrifice has never been in vain. Let me close with this. The women and men we honor today who are no longer with us, but you can still hear their echoes. Literally, can't you, if you lost anybody? You can hear their echoes, the echoes of their voices. They're asking, what will we do? We who are alive, we who remain. They're not asking us to risk our lives. They're asking us to stay true to what America stands for. They're not asking us to do their jobs. They're asking us to do our job, to protect our nation in our time, now, to defend democracy, be part of something bigger than ourselves. So today,